they hit a peak. They actually were in the groove. They got all the songs right. Tony was producing brilliantly with them.
All of these songs would have been done as acoustic demos and presented in that form. And then this guy's had the vision to see Get It On, Mambo Sun, Jeepster, all taken on, you know, that big, huge, pop, beautiful level of perfection.
You know, there were tracks like that, Life's a Gas and Monolith, that were just slightly slower, a little bit more folky, but by that stage, a lot of the hippies that had been into the band originally when they used to sit cross-legged on the floor, they really thought that that album was a sellout. But at the end of the day, Marc Bolan didn't want to just have this cult status. He wanted to be a big star. He wanted to be #1. He wanted to have hordes of screaming fans after him.
Life's a Gas. I mean, I was a T-Rex fan. I found that one a bit hard to swallow, just because it was so perfectly sweet and sugar candy production. But I didn't want sweet and sugar candy. I wanted my lean woman blues, which again, listen to Dylan, early Dylan with the electric guitar. It's almost could have come from any of those early Dylan albums.
I used to go to Mark's house in Marble Arch, and across his lounge he had albums stacked from one end to the other, and looking at them there were just too many to kind of pull out, but he was certainly into Bob Dylan. I think Bob Dylan would have been one of his main influences.
I was always surprised that the Americans didn't take to it more. In the United States, they liked it, but it was still a little bit of an underground thing. They could have left Europe for 6 months, done America, come back for a couple of months, then gone back to America, and no one would have noticed the difference. Because they were in every magazine, they were doing every television interview, they were doing everything you could ever want to do. Everyone was talking about T-Rex. T-Rex became part of the pop rock establishment. They were there and they were thought of as brilliant.
Electric Warrior is that album that made everybody sit up and take notice, and everybody said, okay, T-Rex, they're here to stay.
Well, I was very flattered because all the Beatles in their own way said that we were like their successors. I'm not sure that it's true, but I'm very, very flattered. It's nice, it's an encouraging thing, you know.
Marc Bolan's record label with T-Rex was Fly Records, and the Electric Warrior album was the final album that was released on Fly Records. It was a sort of contractual obligation.
It is one of my favourites. Going back, I mean, when that came out, of course, it has got the line at the end, I'm going to suck you, which again, as a sort of teenager, you know, sort of teenage girls have incredibly smutty minds.
Jeepster was probably, I think it was a closing of a period for T-Rex. They'd got to a point where they'd really, that was phase 1, or phase 1 of T-Rex. After this, Marc was then trying to find another angle, because he'd successfully been a chameleon and moved the whole thing once. I always get the impression that he was looking to do it again.
Certainly, there's been a change in England in 2 years, and we are part of the change. I mean, guys now can wear makeup, they can shout and scream, and they can and say I mean, I can now go on television on a news program. I don't know even what this is for, but in England I can go on a news program, right, and say my mind.
Telegram Sam, January 1972, #1, first release on Marc's label, distributed by EMI Records, and I think the third #1 T-Rex pop chart wonderment in 11 months. It's not bad going.
At the time, we music critics tended to look down our nose a bit at Marc at this point for repeating himself. You know, if you hear a succession of the hits one after the other over a short, over a few months, you start to think, well, he's losing the plot here. But in retrospect, actually, they're all great, you know. Telegram Sam still sounds great. You hear it again 20 years later, and you think, well, that's good fun, that's a great record, it still stands out.
They managed to actually create a bigger sound, if you like. Electric Warrior had had a lot of orchestral parts that Tony Visconti had put onto it, but with Telegram Sam, from the royalties that they'd actually had from the previous #1s, they were able to put a lot more money into buying new equipment, more state-of-the-art stuff, so they were able to get a much more professional sound. And in a way, that was, Marc Bolan was happy with that. He wanted the band to sound that little bit more polished.
I always think that Telegram Sam, to me, probably my favourite T-Rex single. Just a great record. It's got attitude, it's got humour, it's got everything that Bowie and the Beatles used to do really well. It's taking a little bit of the mickey out of the whole business.
What does it mean? What did he, in the song that he called you, what does that mean?
I don't know, idea.
No?
I know nothing. It's Purple Brad Beep, you know, it's whatever you want.
One thing I didn't understand at the time was the fact that, of course, Telegram Sam was a song written about Marc's manager, Tony Secunda, hence the initials TS, Telegram Sam, and TS, Tony Secunda, who became Marc's manager late in '71.
Telegram Sam was taken off the Slider album, and this saw Marc Bolan moving slightly more into the centre stage. By this time, Mickey Finn's contribution was slightly a little bit lower down, and Marc Bolan was very much, you know, I'm on the covers, look at me.
To be able to constantly write hit songs when you're under pressure and you're trying to tour and do stuff in between time, and all the other people around you, I mean, the more success you get, the more people seem to be added to the entourage, and to stay focused like Marc did at that time was absolute genius.
Bang, 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 it's all coming out there now. You know, you can really feel T-Rex is a particular thing, and I think, you know, all these things are pointing to a high point where he's really coming into his own. He's defined his sound, he's defined what T-Rex is, and he's just, it's writing, it's all coming through.
Metal Guru, yes, that was another one of the string of hits that Marc had that after a while began to, you began to think, well, what is a metal guru, you know? You sort of started to lose a bit of patience with him. I mean, if you weren't fond of Marc and you weren't into the music, I can imagine people saying, what is this stuff, you know? Metal guru, what does it all mean? The answer was, it didn't really mean an awful lot, but it sounded good.
Metal Guru was reviewed somewhere as Mental Guru, and Marc thought that was a fantastic title for it.
I liked it on reflection more now than I did at the time. At the time, I sort of took me more of a time to understand it. I think it was again slightly heavier. He started to sort of want to rock it a bit more, and I always thought Metal Guru was the beginning of him trying to get more of a group feel on it, because if you listen to it, the Telegram Sams and all those Jeepsters things, they were very pop, straight pop, and I just think that with Metal Guru, he started to get more rocky.
The whole beginning to the track with the vocal, all that was just copied by a plethora of 70s bands, you know. His sound was really there, the 70s, sound of the 70s.
Metal Guru was another #1 hit for T-Rex, and it was one really at that stage. The whole sort of T-Rex phenomenon was there, it was established, and Marc Bolan was really reveling with his feather boa and the glitter and everything, and he was still trying to crack that American market, and it just wasn't happening. They just weren't grasping this song, and Metal Guru was it was this real sort of happy, cheery, sing-along kind of song, and they just weren't understanding it, but the British fans, they thought it was great.
We play for the kids that never saw the Beatles, never saw Jimi Hendrix. They're seeing us as those sort of people, you know, because they never saw it, they weren't around it. The average age of the audience is 15, 16, you know.
I definitely remember the whole sort of feeling at school with my school friends was that we were all still T-Rex fans, and so, you know, Metal Guru I thought was a great song and was definitely sort of one of the T-Rex at their very best songs.